Erik Halterman of RotoWire.com here, and in this video, I'll be talking about 6 players shooting up draft boards in recent weeks. I'll be comparing their average draft position in the RotoWire Online Championship in the month of February to that in the month of January, and we'll start with the biggest riser inside the top 100 picks, and that is Junior Caminero, third baseman of the Tampa Bay Rays, who went from about pick 88 to about pick 76. Caminero is a young future superstar, and there's no guarantee this is the year he breaks out, though. He only has a 708 OPS in 50 Major League games so far, but he's just 21 years old. There's a very bright future ahead of him. Not one where he's going to steal many bases, but the bat is excellent. Huge power and a good hit tool, too. The ceiling for Caminero in his best years is probably somebody like Rafael Devers, Austin Riley, in terms of fantasy purposes. Somebody who's going maybe early second round in their best seasons. Not necessarily a first round fantasy pick here due to the lack of speed, but the bat is great. The youth means there's a ton of upside ahead of him. Drafters don't want to risk not getting Caminero, so they've been pushing his price up and up. Getting maybe a little pricey for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if this trend continues. Up next, Christian Walker, who has moved from just outside the top 100 to just inside it, going around pick 96 in February. Walker signed with the Houston Astros back in December, and his price has continued to rise since then. I think part of the reason there is that first base dries up pretty fast, so drafters are learning there's an incentive to get it out of the way early, and Walker is a pretty strong early option. Compare him to Pete Alonso and Matt Olson, who go about 50 to 60 picks earlier. Walker actually had a slightly higher barrel rate than both of those guys last year, and a slightly lower strikeout rate. There's an argument to be made that Walker deserves to be going right with Olson and Alonso. Now, he is 34 years old, so a few years older than those guys means there's a little bit of age-related risk. Some durability concerns as well. He did have an oblique injury last year. So I think on the whole, the discount compared to Alonso and Olson is fair, but I wouldn't be surprised if that discount shrinks as people get more and more interested in Walker, who really is going to enjoy the Crawford boxes in Houston as a righty who hits it in the air a lot. If you're enjoying this video, you could let us know by hitting the like and subscribe buttons down below, and you can head on over to rotowire.com/try for free access to the site. Now let's head to the mound for 4 more names, starting with Tanner Scott, who is apparently going to get the bulk of the Dodgers saves. Now, the Dodgers don't mind going full on committee, so there's risk here, and that's probably why Scott's draft price didn't immediately shoot up the board, but the Dodgers have said he's their #1 guy, even if the bulk of the saves is more like the lead guy in a committee. That's still probably fine for the Dodgers, who are going to win so many games that a committee leader could get up to over 20 saves without too much trouble. Scott has elite skills. Over the last 2 seasons, it's a 2.04 ERA, a 1.05 whip, striking out 31% of opposing batters, keeping the ball on the ground 50% of the time. He does walk a few too many batters, but a 10% walk rate over the last 2 seasons is palatable. If he gets up towards the 16% mark that he's flirted with in recent years, earlier in his career, then maybe we should be keeping an eye on guys like Kirby Yates, maybe coming and taking that closer role. Can't 100% trust Scott all year, but it certainly seems like he's going to be the guy to start the season. If all goes well, he'll be the guy throughout the season. Another closer who's shooting up draft boards is Justin Martinez of the Diamondbacks, gone from about pick 213 to just inside the top 200. The main reason for that is the Diamondbacks didn't add any of the big closers in free agency. AJ Puck is his only real competition, maybe Kevin Ginkel as well. Justin Martinez should be able to beat those guys. He's got traditional closer stuff, absolutely. A triple-digit sinker. He's got closer numbers already thanks to that closer stuff. A 2.48 ERA last year with a 59% ground ball rate and a 30% strikeout rate. Now, he does have some control problems, a 12% walk rate leading to a 131 whip. And so if he starts out walking the world in camp and in April, then maybe it won't be Martinez as the true closer. But honestly, at a 12% walk rate, he's still got enough to look like a closer to me. And if he brings that number down as he gets more experience at the major league level, he could be not just a decent closer, but a very strong one. Up next, we've got a former closer, Clay Holmes, now a starting pitcher with the New York Mets, and now somebody who's going going around pick 257 compared to around pick 289 where he was in January. And I think drafters are buying into relief converts after there were so many successes last year. Think Garrett Crochet, think Michael King, think Reynaldo Lopez. There are reasons why somebody moves to relief in the first place. I say durability questions. That doesn't really apply to Holmes. Sometimes guys just have two pitches, and that was the case with Holmes when he moved to the bullpen. He was just a sinker slider guy, but he's added a four-seamer and a kick change this spring, so it seems like he's going to have a starter's repertoire again. The main reason guys moved to the bullpen is they weren't very good, and that was the case for Holmes early in his career, but then guess what? He continued to get better. This version of Clay Holmes, I think, should be quite a good starter if he's got enough pitches that he can face the lineup 3 times through the order. If you look at his numbers over the last 4 years in relief, a 3.05 ERA with a 117 whip, striking out 26% of opposing batters with a truly elite ground ball rate of 69%. Add in the fact that Holmes is going to be pitching in a great home park with a team that should give him plenty of winning chances, and I think it's no surprise that he's rising up draft boards. I'm not sure this rise is done. And finally, we've got another Holmes, Grant Holmes of the Atlanta Braves. No relation there, but there are 2 spots open in the opening day rotation for the Braves, and there's a path for Holmes to hold on to one of those spots all year, even after Spencer Strider returns from surgery. He's just going to need to hold off guys like Ian Anderson, AJ Smith-Shawver, Bryce Elder. I think Holmes can do that. He was a first-round pick by the Dodgers back in 2014, who didn't reach the majors until 2024, a decade later. But in 68 1/3 innings as a swingman last year, looked very much like he belonged. 3.56 ERA, a 119 whip, showed very good control with a 5% walk rate, and also had an above-average strikeout rate of 25%. Pitching with Atlanta means a good chance at earning wins as well, so it's a pretty good spot for someone who you can get pretty cheap, who could stick around all year for a very good team. That'll do it for today's video. Remember, head on over to rotowire.com/try for free access to the site.